Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about my internship experience with GenZs. So I just did. I actually let me change the wording. I'm doing an internship with GenZs about so um our job is to write an article and making a podcast, which I'm making right now about a post-conflict community. Um, so the topic I chose is about ethnic minorities in Afghanistan. So today in my podcast, I will talk about why I chose the topic, how how did I write my article, and what I learned about my topic, as well as how to become a journalist. So, firstly, let me introduce myself. So, my name is Lisa, and I am a third year undergraduate student at King's College London. My degree is called War Studies. Yes, you heard it right. I do study war, no, in a romanticized way, but I like to approach it as how did it impact humans, how did it impact civilians, and of course, unfortunately, um, many innocent people and after conflict. So once the war is over, the conflict is not essentially over. Today I will be using the example of Afghanistan to illustrate that although Taliban has already taken over the country, um, there are still a lot of problems facing ethnic minorities. At the start of the internship, we were asked to complete online journalism course. So the course I did is about war journalists. Um, I um, I feel inspired by the stories of war journalists because they put themselves in very dangerous situations just so that they can spread the story. They can tell the story from the front line, and I find that very inspiring. And maybe one day I aspire to become a war journalist as well. So during the course, what I learned is you have to use very accurate terminologies, and you have to refrain from using emotive language. This is because you don't want to misread your leaders, and it can be difficult under quite emotional situations. The other thing that is um, I find quite interesting during the journalism course is the emotional impact for war journalists when they're reporting from the front line, because they're probably going to be witnessing deaths, maybe atrocities on a daily basis. So they need to um, take that into consideration, and perhaps they need to be mentally resilient before they go into reporting in conflict zones. So now let's talk about um, my topic, which is ethnic minorities in Afghanistan. So I've never been to Afghanistan, and at the moment I don't know anyone from the country. So why did I choose this topic? This is because when I was younger, I really liked this book called The Breadwinner. You might have heard about it, you might not. So it is about a young girl under the first Taliban rule. She had to disguise herself as a boy so she can go outside to get food for her family. Her father was killed during the war, and only female members are still alive in her family. And you probably already know that under Taliban rule, women are not allowed to go outside by themselves, but it is a different story for boys. Um, and yeah, the other reason why I'm interested in Afghanistan is because a close friend of mine once ran marathon. Yes, you heard it right. Um, and she was amazed by the stunning landscape and welcome people. And she said she encouraged me to do it as well, but unfortunately, um, I probably wouldn't have the opportunity if Afghanistan is still ruled by the Taliban, because they don't allow women to go outside to speak in public, let alone participate in um, in a running competition. So when I first started drafting my article, I find it quite difficult because there Afghanistan is has a very long history and is also quite complicated, and there are so many approaches I can take writing about post-conflict community. Um, so at first I thought I'm just going to write about women in Afghanistan, and I realized it is a very well covered topic. And then I thought about maybe I should write about LGBTQ community in Afghanistan, but I found out there actually isn't much to write about because they either hide their identity or flee the country or get prosecuted. And I came across the idea about writing about ethnic minority in Afghanistan. It is doable as well as it is a less covered topic compared to women in Afghanistan, and it is very very interesting, as you're about to find out. So, what I learned about minorities in Afghanistan is how they're so resilient in the face of centuries of persecution. And one community I focused on is the Hazaras. Even before Taliban came into power, they faced systematic discrimination because they follow a different school of Islam. One particular story I find inspiring is the story about Azra Zafari. She is the first female mayor of in Afghanistan, and she served as the mayor of the town, a small town called Beni, from 2016 to 2014. And during her time in office, she faced a lot of violent threats from ISIS as well as the Taliban, but she stayed on her post because she believes she can be a role model for future generations of Afghan women. At the moment, she is in exile in the US, but she still called for the women and girls to not give up. Another thing I find interesting, no, not interesting. Another thing I find I realized is the importance of NGOs and foreign intervention in helping to support those affected by conflict, as well as reporting the issue. And because a lot of my research is based on articles from NGOs, and basically the importance of NGOs in helping post-conflict communities. As I was researching and writing my article, a lot of times I feel personally affected by the stories I was reading, because they're quite emotional and they're quite graphic. And personally, I feel I'm so glad I live in a society where women enjoy basically, I think not fully the same right as men. For example, a lot of things we just take for granted, like getting an education, go outside, participate in sports, and just the freedom to wear whatever you want. Also, although I'm from minority, although I'm um, are from a minority background, living in the UK, there system, there are laws in place to prevent me from facing discrimination. Unlike the Sahara women in Afghanistan, they have no protection against discrimination. So I just feel very glad and very grateful. Also, I want to share the story of minorities in Afghanistan as a warning, because we always think about society as progressive. The case of Afghanistan demonstrated we can actually go back in history. Um, so before the Taliban came into power in 2021, women actually um, enjoyed a lot of right and freedom, almost the same as in Western women in Western society. But because after Taliban took power, after the Taliban came into power, their rights got taken away, and I think we should see it as a warning. And I can see some parallels between the Afghan women and what is happening in the U.S. with the Trump administration, how they're removing women's rights to abortion, and even repeal the U.S. Constitution to remove women's right to vote, and that is very concerning, and people should see that as a warning. During this internship, I further developed my research and writing skills, not just writing from a academic perspective, but also as a piece of creative article, try to make it engaging for the audience. And I also learned how to create infographics and how to record a podcast like I'm doing right now. Um, Also, I really enjoyed my internship experience by having a community of fellow journalist interns, and we shared our ideas and discussed ideas together in weekly mentors. Also, have a very supportive mentor like Zufi. He really helped me with my research and writing. Um, I really encourage you to take part in the internship in the future. Also, please, if you if you're interested, please read my article. And if you feel like me, you feel affected by the issue facing women in Afghanistan, you should look into charities you can donate to support them. And thank you so much for listening. I will see you at the next episode.